Hello and welcome to the Turf and Touchdowns podcast, episode number 23, where we are focusing once again back on the horse racing action. We're looking once again at Saratoga, and more importantly, some would argue, my name's Luke Elder, but very much more importantly, Tom Collins is alongside me, and we both have adequate internet for this week.
We do. To be fair, last week you managed to get through really well, and albeit it was a shorter episode, I think plenty of people actually enjoyed that. Obviously, we've got the most amount of views we've had so far on the channel, so thank you everyone for watching, and hopefully this week's episode will be enjoyable too.
Yeah, we appreciate everybody's support on that. That was absolutely fantastic. Slightly annoying that the most views came on the podcast where literally it doesn't come across in the actual podcast, Tom.
Yeah.
It was awful. Like, there were times that I was responding to you in recording, I had no idea what you said, and vice versa. In the actual recording, it's like, what are these guys on about? The internet's perfect. It's absolutely fine. There's no issue whatsoever. But the actual recording of it, dreadful.
Yeah, it was like you were on the moon, to be fair. You were laggy. I couldn't see you. The lighting, I mean, you might as well have been in a dimly lit room, but actually you had the curtains open. It was a lovely day over in Greece. So I'm surprised it came out as well as it did. But fortunately, Joe, our editor, has done a spectacular job as per.
Yeah, don't give him credit. He put it together. It's whatever. We provided the content. But we got there. We got back from Greece as well last night at about 10 o'clock. We got home at about midnight, but we're fine. We've had a little bit of a sleep. We're okay. And we're good to go. And we're starting pretty high up as well with the Spinaway Stakes this week over at Saratoga. Just before we get into that, if you're not subscribed, why? Do subscribe, do like, leave a comment down below who you like in the Spinaway. Thank you to everyone who's got in touch over last week's episode. But with the Spinaway, it's a mighty competitive contest. We're hopefully going to find quite a nice individual in this spot. Everything in the race is fairly lightly raced. The Queen's MG is the most raced horse in the contest for Saffie Joseph. But I mean, normally we talk about pace in a spot like this, Tom. It's hard to know because we're still getting to grips with quite a few of these horses. What we do know is that one or two of them, they have been slowly away in the past. The likes of Sherbini, Salted has been pondering as well. Has also missed the break on that one start so far. But it's a heck of a race on paper.
Yeah, 11 fillies line up for the final grade one of the Saratoga meet. It feels like it's gone on super quickly, this meet. We've had 8 weeks. Well, 7 so far, 8 by the time we get to this weekend. And this is like the curtain raiser. Super difficult race, 2-year-old fillies. As you say, we don't know too much about them. We've seen them maybe once or twice on the racetrack, the Queen's MG aside. And therefore, we could see a shock here. And it's a very hard race to predict, which isn't ideal for a podcast where we're only featuring one event and everyone's looking for us for winners. When it comes to pace, there are several all-the-way winners on debut. I'm looking at Reliable Source, Tis Purple, Strong State last time, Bella Coast. Immersive won't be far away from the inside. The Queen's MG is always up with the speed. So, albeit we may not know who's going to be exactly on the front end, we know there are a lot of horses that want to be pushing forward in this race, and therefore I'm anticipating a relatively strong pace.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. And I don't think that the Queen's MG will be too far away from that early pace. I don't think we'll be on it, but I think we'll be stalking it. And look, from what she's done so far, she's the best horse in this contest. There might be others who have got maybe a touch more potential than her, but look, she was really impressive in the Great Adirondack last time around here at Saratoga, has been ultimately very good since joining Saffie Joseph.
Yeah, she's definitely the form setter. She sets the bar, and it's what all the other fillies are going to be aiming at. She won at Keeneland on debut when she represented Lowly Connections. She cost just a few quid. It wasn't a massive purchase, but she's gone on to bigger and better things. Obviously joined Saffie Joseph since, and her form's been pretty strong. She won the Schuylerville and the Adirondack, as you say, and she's done it well on both occasions. She's been super impressive. There's not really anything about her that makes me think, well, she can't win this race. But at the same time, do I want to be taking that experienced filly, a filly that we kind of know the level that she's at now, or do I want to be looking at the more unexposed types? And I think given she's likely to be favourite, or at least second favourite in this market, I want to be looking at a horse at a slightly bigger price in here.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. There is actually a market open in the UK on this race already. So as we're looking, go on, let's play the game then. So the Queen's MG, you've said will likely be favourite.
Yeah,
you are right.
I'd say I am or not. Sorry,
you are right.
Yeah, 5-2 maybe.
No, twos.
Okay, that's way too short. So what I just said there about the Queen's MG, I'm going to back up again and say I definitely want to be looking elsewhere. I thought it should be maybe 3-1, and even that wouldn't be a fair price for me to bet her. So I'll be looking elsewhere for sure.
I think this market, we'll go through it because we may as well. But this market is something that will change before off time. Quietside is 4-1, which is probably a bit big. Pondering is 7-1, which is probably a bit big. Tis Purple is 8-1. Sherbini's 10s. Immersive 12. Strong State 12-1. Salted and Bellicose are both 16-1. Reliable Source and Slang are the outsiders at 33. So we'll divert away. Is there anything of those prices that I just read out that you're thinking, wow, that's wrong?
Yeah, well, I thought Quietide's definitely too big. She's the morning line favourite, so I'm surprised that she's double the price of the Queen's MG, albeit she's a lesser quantity at the moment. She should be around 3-1 rather than 4, so there's a point value there if you like that filly. And the other one that really stood out there, and it's not my selection, but it was Salted. Did you say 16-1 on Salted?
Yeah, that was the one. Salted was like second selection for me in this race.
Yeah, and me.
But mainly because of that price. Because 16s is just incredibly wrong. I didn't expect Salted to be the second horse we talk about in this race, but we may as well talk about her because we both like her. Look, she's had 2 starts so far. I thought she ran really well behind Immersive, who obviously reopposes, but I thought Salted was by far the one to take out of that Saratoga maiden special weight. And the fact that Connections see fit to come straight here as a maiden, that's a sort of vote of confidence for her.
Yeah, I completely agree with all of that. Mark Cassie's done fantastically well at this meet. Saratoga this year, 28%, 45% in the top 3. So he's had a fantastic 7 weeks up in New York. And this filly, first time up, she showed some ability when finishing second. There was no hard luck story behind her that day, but it was over 5.5 furlongs. Then she came back over the 6 in a maiden behind Immersive, who reopposes, as you say. And she was definitely the horse to take out of the race. She stumbled badly at the start. She was right out the back in the early stages, moved her way through the field in the mid part of the race and finished off with really good energy. Now stepping up and trip, surely that'll suit her. She was definitely the second on my shortlist as well, to be honest. And at 16-1, I might have to have a little tickle each way on her.
Yeah, we're both going to just scrub aside our actual selections and we'll just go with Salted instead. But 16s is the wrong price. If 16-1 is still here when you're listening to the podcast, I wouldn't put you off Salted whatsoever or going in. But we both mentioned Quietside was a little overpriced. It's currently 4-1 at the moment, but is the morning line favourite. Look, Quietside I thought was fantastic on debut. Saw the race out very nicely. Louis Sayers taking the ride. Stall 11. It's okay. It's okay. He's got she should say, it's got a nice avenue into trying to get towards the front. It's just whether she's quicker than the others.
Yeah, she was super impressive on that debut. I actually love stall 11 for her. If you're a horse with plenty of early speed, drawn outside is a huge advantage because your rider, Jose Ortiz, I think it is in this instance, can look across and see where all the other speeds are and find a spot. If you're drawn 1, for example, on a similar type, you have to be aggressive. You have no choice because you cannot wait from that inside. They all congregate across, and in the click of a fingers, your spot is gone in the race. So being drawn outside is a huge advantage, albeit 11 is quite wide on the track. I've got written down in my notes, I don't want to take a short price on anything, and that's my only reason against Quietside. She's 4-1. I thought she'd be shorter, so maybe that argument is gone. At the same time, I still want to be looking elsewhere, but I would be a bit scared of her. I think she's a big player.
I'm delighted that you've made this mistake, by the way. And it wasn't me. So when me and Tom record this, we rarely have proper notes up, and we'll try and memorize most of the stuff. We'll have little glimpses up, but John Ortiz trains the horse.
Is it not Jose on board?
No, Louis Sayers.
Louis Sayers. To be fair, I did say I think, so I wasn't sure about that, but yeah, that's a bit of a howler from me.
Jose's actually not got a ride in the race.
I think he might be at Kentucky Downs.
Right, but that's real wrong then.
Yeah. Moving on.
I did look at it going, no, don't do that one. Don't do that one. He's currently 7-1 in the market. Bellicose is also a shortlisted runner. Look, this is one that's at 16-1, and it's probably definitely a touch overpriced. That the debut run I thought was very good. Will demand a big step up, but everyone in this race demands that as well.
Yeah, I thought she was interesting to talk about purely because of she's a recent acquisition of Resolute Racing. This fantastic new ownership, represented by John Stewart, who's the lead of Resolute. He's just purchasing all these really nice fillies and mares from across the globe. Japan, we've got a few over here in the UK, obviously loads in the US as well, and up in Canada. So yeah, I thought she was worth talking about from that basis. This is her first run for Resolute Racing. On her debut, she was very impressive. She won by 10 lengths, kicked off the front, and did it in fantastic style. She is a New York bred, though. Coming in against Open Company, that means that she's going to have to be way the best. We have seen quite a few good New York breds this year. The main squeeze, my main squeeze, being one of them for my makeup. But this is a relatively strong target for Bella Coast, and if she wins, then fantastic news for the new owners, Resolute Racing, because she's going to have a filly with a huge future. I do think she'll be slightly overmatched in this spot, though.
Yeah, I completely agree with that part. And look, 16-1, I think she's about the right price in that sort of spot. We've mentioned Salted in passing, probably a bit more than in passing, actually. But the horse that beat Salted last time around was Immersive. I mean, bookmakers over here just don't like that race. Immersive is 12-1, Salted is 16-1. I think it's a little disrespectful to that last race, to be quite frank. I think Salted is the best of those two, but I don't think either of them should really be double figures.
Yeah, I think Sorted should actually be the same price, if not shorter than Immersive. So that's why we were talking about the value there behind Mark Cassie's runner. Immersive was impressive. You know, this Godolphin homebred showed speed, showed good determination in the latter stages of the race, fighting, battling qualities, which is what you want from a 2-year-old. Manny Franco's decided to ride Immersive over Bella Coast, who he actually rode on debut. So there's a tick in the box there. I just don't like the inside gate, to be honest, for Immersive. And you're going to have to rush out. As I say, the inside is probably the worst spot in a race like this. And there's a high possibility that Immersive will be doing too much too soon in here.
I'm really trying to work out who you like. Because, like I say, we always say it's me and Tom. We never discuss really who we like before the actual podcast. I told Tom who my play was because I'm stupid. But I don't think your selection is anything we've spoke about yet. Quietside is the one that you like most, I think, at the prices alongside Salted.
Yeah.
It's either Tis Purple or Strong State.
It's neither of those either.
What's going on? It's not Shabini.
This is a wide open race. I want to take a shot on one. Quietside, I think, is the most logical winner, I have to admit. And the Queen's MG will be in the top 4 or 5. I just don't think she's a good value bet at 2-1. My selection is going to be Shabini.
Okay, she was on my shortlist. She was on my shortlist, but she was one that I thought would run well without winning.
It's highly likely. I've actually got down here. I'm going to side with Shabini each way. So, maybe show place if you're in America, but each way if you're in the UK. She's got a good draw. She's in 2, speed on her inside and Immersive in 1. So she's going to be able to get a rail stalking trip. She's been slowly away so far in a couple of outings, but I thought she showed with great promise. She's basically Salted, but with a little bit more upside, I think, especially from the draw that she has. Deep closing filly, and there's so much speed, as we talked about at the top of the pod here, that she should be able to get some kind of pace collapse in front of her, which will allow her to pick up some pieces. She beat Strong State comfortably on her debut at Churchill. Now, I watched the replay back there because Strong State has been really impressive since in victory. And I thought, wow, this filly's been overlooked in the market. I mean, 8-1 on the morning line just seems crazy. But you read out 10-1, I think, there from the UK prices, which is even better value. Last time she came back to run second behind the Queen's MG. So she does need to improve on that to win. Obviously, the Queen's MG is in this race. But again, she didn't get a great trip there. And maybe she's going to get a cleaner run through from this inside stall. Mark Cassie with 2-year-olds this year, just untouchable really at Saratoga, especially second or third time out. And I like that Florent Giroux's on board. Now, that's not to say that I like Florent Giroux because he wouldn't be one of my favourites. However, he knows this filly well. And when you've got a 2-year-old coming into a race, relatively lightly race, in a big field, you want to have a jockey that knows how to ride them. And I think it's a bonus that he's been on for both appearances so far. So I'll be with Shabini each way.
Yeah, I totally get that. And I'm delighted one of us has put up Shabini because she was one that was shortlisted by myself as well. 7 furlongs, I think, is going to suit absolutely perfectly. I think the one that we agree on that will outrun the price, whether 16-1 is still around, Salted is absolutely that one. And I think we'll run a big race. But I quite like Pondering in this. It is a horse that enters this race completely left field. Look, took apart, we don't know, bunch over at Ellis Park because that form hasn't really been tested whatsoever. But it was at Ellis Park, so tread lightly. Was really well supported for Brendan Walsh on that first start. And Luan Mercado, look, the start of the race didn't exactly go perfectly. We talk about horses being a touch slowly away. He was just on his back legs a touch. He jumped out a few lengths, well, a couple of lengths slowly, behind the early pace setter, who was in the end one of the main challenges. I think it was Electrifying Lady, and Shirley Ann also managed to go forward. But the longer the race went on, the better Pondering looked. And again, we don't know what this horse was running against, but looked very, very good visually, was almost eased down late on. And sure, why not have a go at something like the Spinaway? You don't look out of place whatsoever. From a speed figure point of view, you're right up there with what others have been achieving. Is coming off the back of a 74 Bayer speed figure, but could have easily gone a lot faster than that first time up. So it's a bit more sort of guesswork, but we're not talking about a horse who was exceptional on debut, Tom, at 2-1. We're talking about a horse who was exceptional on debut at 7-1. I quite like that, so I'll take Pondering. And look, you could take Pondering each way if you so wanted as well, because the Queen's MG over here is taking a lot out of this market.
Yeah, this is definitely a race to take a shot on, one with a lot of upside. And I think Pondering certainly has that. Another Godolphin homebred in this spot. Good middle draw, which I think is nice for her because she's going to be a stalker in this race. She should be able to sit in that second or third flight. And maybe, if you like her, like you do, this she'll power through late. Luan Machado, or Mercado, however we say his last name, 34% for Brendan Walsh this year, which I think is a very good stat as well.
I love Luan Mercado. But
He's a good jockey, isn't he?
Yeah, before this year, whatever. And then this year, he's just turned into an absolute machine. He started at Keeneland when he was riding his big price winners left, right, centre. I'm thinking, well, this guy, what's gone on? then he took it into Churchill and he's carried it on at Saratoga. Honestly, he's just been riding out of his skin at the moment. So absolutely no negative in any way, shape or form. You hadn't heard of Luan Mercado. He's absolutely a guy that's fine to have on side. But as far as the Spinaway goes as a whole, Tom, really, really looking forward to this one.
Yeah, it's going to be a great race. As we say, big field, 2-year-old fillies. We could see a future star in here, and it's a race where we want to take a shot on a couple. So if you like your big prices and don't necessarily want to bet horses at 2-1 or shorter, like we've covered a couple of turf races so far in this podcast series, then this is the race for you because you can really just get a pin, stick it in one of these lightly raced fillies, and hope that she runs well. It's one of a number of good races on Saturday. Obviously, we've got the Nashville Derby over at Kentucky Downs. We've got the Pacific Classic at Del Mar as well. So it should be a really good night of US racing.
Do you want me to do the thing?
Go on.
The Luke Elder thing. I'm going to put one more horse up.
Here we go.
This is a horse that I adore. I've loved her since debut. Were we on together?
I think we were, yeah. No, actually, no, we weren't. We were on for the second start, but the first time you were on, and then you messaged me ahead of the second start.
That was it. So for the debut run, we spoke about it, and a horse called AG Bullet beat her. AG Bullet runs in the same race as well, but Ruby Nell, I just adore. Now, I do think they've slightly got her wrong, and she still managed to win. Did she win a Grade 1? No, Grade 2 company over a mile. I think she is an out-and-out sprinter. She is a little bit of a Fruit Loop. She will just go as fast as she possibly can on the front end, but she ran in the Gamely last time around, which was a step too far. If you're not an out-and-out miler, you're not going to be winning that race. Anisette managed to beat Olivia Meralda. Forever After All was in there as well. The Gamely was a decent race this year. Managed to win the Buena Vista over at Santa Anita over a mile a couple of starts ago. I think over this sort of trip at Kentucky Downs in race 9, I think this is perfect for her. Kentucky Downs can be a track where you can just get loose on the front end, and this is going to be a case of Edwin Maldonado just saying go, but I love her. You know how long I've been waiting for Ruby Nell to revert back sprinting, and 6.5 at Kentucky Downs. Not often you'd say it, but this is perfect.
Yeah, so much so that I sent you a message yesterday
while I was in Greece.
Ruby Nell run. Yeah, while you were in Greece, exactly. I wanted to give you the heads up. It should be a good race, to be fair. I don't like her in the spot, but I know you're a huge fan. And I haven't had that same faith, and I've been rightly punished over the last few months. So maybe I'll be wrong again. I actually prefer Elm Drive, actually, in that race, but I'll keep that quiet. But yes, I'm sure we'll talk about the race and many others on Sky Sports Racing on Saturday night as well, as we're in together on technically the early shift. Obviously, it's still evening, but the early shift. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It should be a great night of racing on Saturday.
Yeah, I think I'm done at like 10, so I'll just be there till the good racing starts, and then I'll go. But it's going to be fun. Myself and Tom on Sky Sports Racing on Saturday night. Thank you very much for listening to this edition of the Turf and Touchdowns podcast, the Grade 1 Spinaway, the race in focus. This week, we will also have an NFL video as well. So if you do like your American sports action, we are literally just about to record the overachievers, underachievers, and also Super Bowl selections, because the NFL season starts next week on Thursday night. But that will be a separate video. Thank you very much for listening to us on the Turf and Touchdowns podcast. Until next week, stay safe, look after one another. Goodbye.